Hello. How you doing?
Hello.
How you doing?
How are you, buddy?
Good to see you.
Hey
You
y'all.
too, man. You too. It's been a while,
It's
bro.
too long. Too
Way too
long.
Yeah,
long, man. Way too long.
Looking
I
good.
think I think
Yeah,
Matthew's just going
yeah.
to let us sit here and talk.
The longest round. Hello. Hello. Hi.
Generally, I just
Alexa,
get,
what's
get your,
telling you?
you talk away first of all. That's grand. That's no problem at all.
Wait a minute. Scroll down with this or
This is
something?
you.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do we do here? Okay, let's see. Still getting dialed in here. This is my first Skype kind of thing, man. This is pretty far out. Oh, the
Another
technology.
debut.
Yeah,
All
here
right.
we are. Oh, yeah, yeah. This is good. Okay. So
Well,
my
hello,
lovely
Steve Earle.
assistant Sherry, who helped
Hi,
put this
Sherry.
together.
Hi.
Thanks, Sherry.
Hi.
So,
What's up? Happy
here's Steve
Sunday.
Earle.
How y'all doing?
Great, man.
Doing
Great.
good.
Did you get some tennis
It's
in this morning?
no, we're doing an interview instead of tennis today. God
Right.
damn it.
Damn it. The court the court will be there when you're ready.
The sacrifices you
That's
got to
right.
make for rock and roll.
That's
Mm.
right. Buddy, you got to keep moving, man. Keep moving.
Yeah, you got it at our age, especially.
We
Well,
went to see we
well,
saw Whiskey Singles last night. Nathan Singer's band. They blew the roof off a motor. It was absolutely incredible.
Oh, good time.
Yeah.
That's a great club.
Yeah,
well,
they
I
were badass.
appreciate you missing your tennis for the interview. That's I really appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Hello, Matthew. Thank you
I'm
for having us.
My camera's not working again. I set it to work, but I don't know why it's not working. So I apologize
Okay.
for that. I really want this because I know last time we were speaking Dandy as well, it wasn't working, and I tried to set it up, so I don't know what's went wrong. But sure.
No,
So that just
I'm gonna imagine what you look like, man. I'm
yeah.
imagining it.
I was going to say we won't see you while you're flipping us off throughout the interview.
Yeah.
I'm actually naked. That's why.
Yeah, beautiful. You should turn that camera on, man.
Whatever you imagine works for you. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I really, really appreciate you taking the time today as well, especially on a Sunday. So, yeah, obviously we're here to talk about everything Lorquin's Admiral. So, I think we'll do it like the Star Wars films. We'll do A New Hope introductions. Get to know everyone. Empire, everything goes wrong, and hopefully, Return of the Jedi, everything goes right. So, um, just tell us sort of how did Lorcan's Admiral come to be? I know obviously there's a lot of working parts in there. So, how did it all sort of come together?
Yeah, there are indeed. A handful of years ago, what about 2017, Nick? Right around
Yeah.
then, Nick and Marlon King, who's not with us today, but they reached out and asked if I wanted to help them out with their next Yawning Sons record, and I was just absolutely thrilled, man. I'm a fan of Yawning Man, and definitely a fan of Sons of Alpha Centauri, and I just thought, wow, what an awesome opportunity. And so I think Nick originally had wanted me to just perform on it, but I was like, dude, I love these riffs. I'd really like to sing on them, and so I convinced him to let me sing. And
Yeah.
next thing you know, we got in and did we did some work on that record, and after that record was finished, we just felt really comfortable writing music together. And so we were like, why don't we try to do a full length of us three? And I was like, well, I think Dawn would sound fantastic on some of these riffs as well. And so we expanded and then just started recruiting. And Steve Earle was the obvious choice. He's been a friend, dear friend for many years, and he's a pretty good drummer. I mean, he's okay. And so
Keep
we
practicing. I'm just gonna keep on practicing, man. Right? Muscle memory, baby.
and Dave Angstrom as well. I reached out to him, and he was all about it. He just absolutely wanted to do it, and same with Country Mark Engel. And next thing you knew, we had a lineup for it, and then it just became passing riffs back and forth, and we did that for what, about a year, Nick, something like
Yeah.
that, until we had things pretty solid together. And just so happened that at the end of a Fizz Fuzz tour that Steve and Dawn and I and our bass player Gabriella Carta had done in the UK, we scheduled some time to get into the studio, and we just went and punched it out. And in about a week, It came together so organically and so easily, and we were just thrilled coming out of the studio with what we had. And then we spent some time getting it the rest of the way together with mixing and mastering and finding a record label that actually wanted to put it out for us. So the pieces fell together rather easily. I mean, there were a number of labels that we approached with the record that because it didn't pigeonhole into exactly the genre that they did on those labels. A lot of record labels really didn't want to touch us at first, but we got really lucky finding Argonauta Records, who, from the moment they heard it, they really believed in the record and jumped on board with it. And so it's just a real honor to work with them and to have a record label that really believes in what we're doing. And so,
where did you find them? How did you, was that someone you've worked with before, or I'm not really aware of them? So how did you come across them?
No, good friends of ours that are in Italy. Fabio Speranza, who also has his band on that label, kind of suggested him, and I just reached out to him. I just sent him the files and said, "Hey, man, you interested?" And the next day, it was like, "We're on board. Let's put this record out." And as I say, the rest just kind of flowed to where we are right now.
Brilliant, brilliant. And how did you all find, like, I know for myself, man, I know I've sent you some stuff to listen to before, Dandy. I'm working on my own sort of stuff, and I'm trying to work with my brother. There's only me and him, and it's taken a while to get, sort of time together and working things out. So that initial stage where you were sending things back and forth, and then in the studio, how did you all sort of find out that way of working?
Nick, you want to jump on that one?
Yeah, sure. I think we'd had some time previously, myself and Marlon. Yawning Suns was one of the collaborations we'd worked on with Yawning Man, but before then we'd done some collaborations with Karma to Burn, and we sort of figured that it's good to have at least a verse and a chorus. If you can get those as a minimum, then you can start working. But you got to have a good verse and a good chorus, and the solos and the bridges, they can kind of work. They can work around. But when you're in a vocal environment, the verses and the choruses have got to be really good. You can't sort of work your way around that by throwing loads and loads of riffs, which is what we previously would have done, as an instrumental sort of rock band, which were like, if that more riffs, more riffs. So, the stuff we started sending across to Dandy, we thought was like some good A's and B's. And then he'd be sending back ideas, songs of his own, which again, it was great because Dandy's left-handed. He's got, like, similar to myself, he's got a unique sort of performance. So to hear the songs from his and Dawn's side, and then to hear some of the songs that we were sending him, sort of started to coalesce that style. And then, as sort of Dandy said, when you bring Steve into it, he heard the songs differently. So I remember one song, I think it was My Blue Husband, actually, when we were in the studio, Steve was playing it, and he was playing it with a completely different feel. And then he double timed it, and it just took on a life of its own. So all of those things, it's just, you get really good foundations, and then you build, and that's kind of how we approached it, I think, with the first transactions of music, just really good verses and choruses that work well together, that create an open space for us to play on.
Great. And then Steve, whenever you got, so who gets what first? What order do you go in? So, or if you are writing like sort of separately, then how do you sort of work with arranging it as well? Because I take it these are all based in different places, so it's probably not, a Tuesday night practice room kind of thing. So how do you work that and arrange that between each of you?
I spend most of my time with Marlon in the UK. So we're fortunate we got a recording space in at Marlon's house, and then we've got a rehearsal space which actually the Fizz Fuzz came to. It's by the sea, so we've rehearsed there for sort of 25 years. And so we've got an open space where we can say, well, that sounds good, just us playing, but then we can go there and we can turn it up loud and check that it still sounds good loud, so we know it's going to work live. It's going to work in a rock environment. And so we'd sort of bring together the bare bones, and then we'd send that across to Dandy and Dawn, and then the vocal melodies.
Mhm.
It was incredible to me being, having been in an instrumental band, the vocal harmonies take as long, if not longer, than the song. It really, when I'd sit and watch those guys work together, I think one of the tracks, Dawn got the vocal melody, pretty much the night before, because we'd had like all this time, but it was really hard to get something that was really, really, that was just going to be captivating. And when it landed, it was absolutely amazing,
Yeah.
But there's one thing that struck me about transitioning from like instrumental into sort of like vocal was, the time it would take to get the vocal melodies. And there was another one as well, wasn't there, Dandy, that took a while to get vocal melody down. I think it was one of the tracks. We didn't even know if it was going to make the album at one point because we couldn't get a vocal harmony down.
Right.
But it did, because some of them took a while. And then after the vocal melodies were sort of like the ideas were down, we were getting the tracks to Steve, and getting an idea around pacings and stuff. So yeah, they kind of embryonically, I think, primordially was in the UK, and then went overseas from there.
Yeah, and I can only imagine when Steve, when Steve got a hold of these riffs, he's certainly taking them to his rehearsal place and trying to figure out exactly what to do to these tunes. Uh, this is the kind of situation where it's a band that has never really been a band. You come into this situation where you're in a studio, meeting people for the first time, jamming with them for the first time, trying to get the feel for how they play, and I think that is a two-edged sword. Sometimes that can fall apart immediately, but sometimes it's just like, whoa, this is really cool the way we're feeling each other out on these songs and making them come together. And maybe Steve, maybe you can talk a little bit more to that and how you approached it.
Yeah. So I guess I had that stuff. I mean, I just had that music. I don't know what, for about 4 or 5 or 6 months or something. And I just, listened every day and trying to just think about, okay, I don't think this stuff needs me to go all Keith Moon on it. I think it's kind of the other direction, really just kind of be supportive of what's going on here and lay back and, try to keep it tasteful. But, I think I just tried to approach the thing it was in a simplistic way. It would just be very supportive and try to give this stuff the power that it deserves, but know when to back off. And as soon as we started playing this stuff, I mean, it felt pretty natural and pretty good right away when we plugged in and started playing, and it
Yeah.
came together relatively easily.
Yeah.
In retrospect, gosh, I wish we had 5 more days to,
Yeah.
take and do whatever. But no, it is what it is, and I think we really we've got some magic on tape. We
Mhm.
do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally agree, man. I think also there's the fact that, it's not the first rodeo for any of us. We're all pretty experienced with playing music, and I think all of us have actually have very broad number of people that we played with and genres that we played in, and I think that is a benefit too. And bringing a project like this together, that you just have that kind of experience in your past.
Yeah, something that was interesting for me, and Steve knows full well that I've basically sworn off click tracks and that whole thing. Damn it, I'll never use one of those again. I was like, well, hey, man, listen, you want to go record at a kick-ass studio in England? Well, then you got to play along with a pre-recorded computer drummer, dude. Just deal with it, all right? And it was actually really fun. I felt like I was 15 again in my parents' basement playing along to my favorite records. It was great. I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would as far as that situation. And it worked out. Yeah, and it was well worth it, obviously.
Definitely, definitely. And I think there's definitely a unique kind of thing about what goes on with Lorquin's Admiral, because we have both the male and female voices happening there as well, and the harmonies that Dawn and I we continue to work on that craft. But we spent a lot of time singing together and trying to find the right places for our vocals to go. And the stuff that Don works on the record is just magnificent. And I think we just really play off each other really, really well.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. There's always that point in time where you're trying to figure out what the chemistry is. And I think once we figured out that leaning on our relationship to fortify the way in which our vocals were playing off of one another really became a great asset to the record.
Was there any tracks that you were like, one, do you write together first of all, or was there any tracks that one of you wanted to sing on, the other one wanted to sing? Was there any sort of back and forth there, or was it all pretty smooth and happy?
Yeah, well, we have our wrestling rink out in the garage, and so when we disagreed on that, we just went out and wrestled for it. Best 2 out of 3.
Best
And
like tennis.
That's fair.
Exactly. Exactly. I think when we hear songs, the type of relationship that Don and I have is not one where we compete with each other, and we just trust each other's opinions on things. So I've been in a lot of musical situations throughout my musical career. I don't know if you even want to call it that. I was thinking career, something to make money up of. But throughout my musical experience, I've been in many musical situations where people will write a riff or people will come to a situation with a song, and they just have so much ownership over it that it becomes very, very difficult to reach any kind of what's the word I'm looking for?
Compromise.
Compromise, where you're working together on it, and you're not like, no, this is what I wrote, and it's got to stay exactly like this. Well, we never have that, and so when we hear something that works, then we go for it. So if I hear a song, or if Dawn hears a song and she's like, no, I think you should sing on that, or I think or I'll tell her I think you should sing on that, or maybe I could do the background on that, or something like that. We'll work with it until it sounds right without being like, this is my song. This is what I'm going to do. Or if I write a batch of lyrics or she writes a batch of lyrics and she says, I don't really think that line works very well, I don't crawl over into the corner in the fetal position and, weep about it all day long. I trust in my writing partner and I trust in my wife. And, obviously we have that kind of relationship, and it just works so well for us musically. And like I said, I've been in situations where bands have ended because people just couldn't let go of ownership over something. They couldn't compromise. They couldn't work well together. But I feel like in this situation, and with the other guys that worked on this record, everybody brings something that is so unique and so great to the record that you really don't, have to produce it too much. Just say, here it is, let's go, and let's see what happens. And I feel like that's what happened with Lorquin's Admiral. It just came out organically. It wasn't forced.
Yeah, we're really here to lift up each other's ideas and try to make them the best that they can be, rather than trying to win out and whose ideas make it in and whose don't. It's more like just trying to support the ideas that we think work the best.
And that's always been a business model for me too. When working on records, a lot of people, and I know without mentioning names, Steve has a really bad history with this, where people will take a song that you've worked on or contributed to, and they don't want to, give you credit for it or give you royalties on it. And it's always been my business model. Hey, man, if you play on the song, then you've written part of the song, and you're going to be acknowledged in that way. And I think that's really important to creating a family kind of feel in the situation that you're in. And I think it adds to the longevity of a project. It cuts down on the hard feelings because, Steve Earle's a great drummer. Nick is a great bass player. We're all great writers, I think, of our own sort. And to disregard that in a business sense or in a sense of producing a record, I think that's just foolhardy and disrespectful.
Steve, do you want to name names of those bad experiences?
I'm sorry. What's that? I missed that. Were you talking to me? No, this band is just zero drama. We love each other. We just have a great time, and we all leave our minds open. And I mean, it truly is a collaborative experience, and it's a joy to be a part of.
Mhm.
With your the writing lyrics as well, because it's something I'm not very good at lyrics. I've tried, and I think I'm also trying to find a singer from a project as well. So it's hard to get
Mhm.
um singers who are gonna fit as well. Obviously, you two working together with your sort of themes and things. Like, where do they come from? Like, well, obviously with My Blue Wife and My Blue Husband. So are those
Mhm.
obviously about each other?
Yeah.
Yes. With when it comes to My Blue Wife and My Blue Husband, that was kind of a writing experiment to where we ended up gifting each other these two songs. It was an
Like a
exchange.
reverse rumors Fleetwood Mac kind of thing.
Kind of. I guess
I
I
like that.
I guess you could put it that way. But yeah, it was really a gift exchange between us as writing partners, and I'm really happy with how it turned out.
Indeed. And, I think when we first set out to come up with themes for this record, it was really important to us that the messages and the themes on the record were uplifting and positive. I mean, there are certainly juxtapositions, emotional juxtapositions that happen in each of the songs. Um, but at the end of the day, at the end of the song, we always wanted the message to be, will it get better? Will things improve? Is there a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, or whatever it may be? That life isn't always, terrible and downtrodden. Even though in the world, especially currently, it does seem like there's a whole lot of stress and a whole lot of bad things happening. But we just didn't want to go that way with this record. And certainly most of the lyrics and the themes do come from personal experiences. I don't want to make it sound like we live in a candy house, where everything is great 100% of the time, because that just isn't the way the world works, obviously. But I think that if you try hard enough, you can see to the good, and have empathy for other people, and just try to experience life in a positive way instead of being down and having something heavy on your shoulders every single day of your life. That'll wear a person out.
It,
Amen, brother.
it's a really
Yeah, right on.
beautiful record. I really think, like, beautiful is a good word to describe it, because I've listened to it a lot, and it goes, as you said before, it's pulling back and going up. It's so well balanced as well. I really, really enjoy it. I think it's great. Do you have each of you, do you have a favorite track off the record?
Favorite track off the record? I'm gonna let the other guys answer that first.
Uh, I I thought "Burn and Heal" was the track I was talking about earlier when we struggled to find a vocal for it, and then in the Dandy said he texted me and said me and Dawn's she's cracked it. It's like the night before the final day in the studio, and the vocal on that was just soaring. Unfortunately, she had a cold, but even
Yeah.
then, I remember she had a cold. But even then, like she was still giving it everything that she had to try and do it. And it was like I think we may have to take this one back to the US and finish it off. But that one for me was brilliant because I heard the original the riff was kind of a very kind of old school, like, instrumental stoner riff, but when I heard the vocal and then Dave laid down his Marshall tones on top of Marlon's Marshall tones, it was just a wall of sound, and it just gave it that, and that created one end of like the sort of the spectrum, and then the other end was another one of mine is Could Have Been Forever, which initially in my head that started off as kind of more of a Soundgarden-y thing, and then Dandy just sort of took it to this whole new sort of psychedelic rainbow thing, and it was that was those two for me a standout. They're absolutely sort of like the two ends of the spectrum. One's just sort of hard rocking, and the other one is this sort of psychedelic sort of, you know, sort of psychedelic brilliance really that radiates and kind of captivates a lot of the positivity that we were talking about earlier just now. So yeah, those two are favorites for me. Thanks.
Could Have Been Forever is actually my favorite off the album.
Nice.
I think it's beautiful. It's really, really good. So yeah. Steve, what about yourself? Favorites?
Oh gosh, I mean the opening track, My Blue Wife. I absolutely can't even get that out of my head. I would probably say also Aren't We? I love Aren't We? Just amazing, a wall of sound, like you were saying, Nick. I mean, it's just brilliant. And yeah, just I love how every song has similar grooves on most of these songs, but every song has its own individual mood, and it's striking when you listen to the whole record. It's lovely.
Matthew, Dawn and I have done a series of interviews leading up, as promo to the record, and invariably in all of those interviews, we get asked about My Blue Wife, My Blue Husband. We get a series of questions that seem to pop up every time. But what's really striking about each of those interviews is that each interviewer seems to have a different favorite song on the record, and they all seem to love the record itself, but they all have a different perspective on it. And I think that's really humbling and great in so many ways, that the record touches people in different ways, and it crosses over different genres, and that's what's really amazing to me about the record, is that it has those blues elements, it has those stoner elements, it has some metal elements to it. As much as Nick cringes when I say it, it has pop elements about it. It has, it has all these different things that come into the pot and get melted in together that make it so incredibly unique, and can touch people that listen to all these different genres in a different way. And I think that's just very, very exciting and very, very awesome that we've created something like that, and touched people with the record. We've all been around the block, like I say, so many times. We realize, you don't get your expectations up too much for a record. It's not like, oh, we're going to have the #1 record, or we're going to be millionaires. We know that probably next week, or so, after the initial release, the hype dies down. You don't see so much stuff in the press anymore about it. But I really think that overall we've really touched a lot of people with this record, and that is a real measure of success, that we created something like that.
Now that's great and all, but I'm not going to let you get away with this.
I was going to say
that. I think, again, that's a tough question. I think Could Have Been Forever and Black Water are both up there, because both of those songs I kind of penned for my two daughters from two totally different perspectives. Both of them just one in their teenage years, one just out of their teenage years, and seeing the things that they're going through and the things that life is throwing at them, and just trying to give them a message that, things are going to be better. You just live your life the best you can, and you stay as positive as you can about life, and just trying to find that happiness in life, and don't let it weigh you down too much, because you only get one shot to do so. So those two songs really hold a special place for me. If I ever perform them live, I'm sure I might be a little teary-eyed.
Yeah. If I had to choose, I would say that singing on My Blue Husband was probably the most fun to sing, just because it has these really sweeping vocals. However, I would say I really enjoyed Aren't We, just because it kind of slows down for a little bit and gets really grungy and heavy at the start, and I really like
I love that. I love that.
That kick drum at the beginning of that, the whole thing at the beginning of that song is just so iconic. I think it really just stays with you. The way that song comes in, I just love it. I can hear that thing being sampled 20 years from now on some hip hop or some kind of record like that.
Yeah, I remember we tracked Aren't We live, myself and Steve and Marlon, just to get the lock in, and Dan's in the control room, and we're like three or four versions in, and he's like, "That's the take," and we're like, "We're gonna play it again," and he's like, We've definitely got the take now, guys," and we're like, "We're gonna play it again," just because
Again
we
and
didn't want to
again
stop
and
playing it, did we,
again.
Steve? We just kept playing it
Keep
because we just
going. We
loved
couldn't
that track.
stop. We were
He was like,
unstoppable
"It's like
like
you've
a
recorded
goddamn
it
freight
11
train.
times." He's like,
Freaking
"You've
freight
recorded
train,
it
buddy.
11 times." We were like, "We don't care. We loved it."
12's a good
So yeah,
number.
that's a really got a really good memories around that one because we just loved playing it as
Yeah.
one of the ones that we tracked live. So that was awesome.
Yeah, and since you brought Dan's name into this, man, we got to give a shout out to that dude,
Yeah.
Yes.
Dan Lucas, and Joplin House Studio. He is such a genius and tremendous engineer, and awesome, awesome fellow. And his studio is top notch. Certainly, book your time now because
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
he
what's
does
the
magic.
cat's name? Who's the cat? The
Oh
cat.
yeah. Shout out to Margot, the best studio cat
That's
out there.
Margot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Margo the cat. Very good.
Yeah, no, Dan is the quintessential British engineer with loads of stories. Talk about somebody that's been around the block, seen it, done it, seen it
Yeah.
all. Just an amazingly interesting, knowledgeable, incredible dude.
So that'll bring us on to the whole recording. So you got it done in a week, I think you said earlier on. So obviously, I think you flew over to England.
Mm-hmm.
How did you work that? Also, now this is a question, not something I'll probably know a whole lot about, but just to get a bit of an idea about like your equipment, what sort of rigs is used, all that sort of good technical stuff as well. So how did the whole recording process go for you?
Well, I can jump right in on that. As I was saying, we came off the end of a Fizz Fuzz tour, and Dawn and I had decided to jump over to Paris for a few days, just have a little bit of time to ourselves. And immediately, Steve went into the studio with Marlon and Nick, and I think you guys cut those tracks in like 3 days or something.
3 or 4 days. Yeah.
Yeah. And by the time that Dawn and I came back, everything was just this beautiful palette for us to start singing over. And as was also mentioned, someone with the initials SE had brought a pretty terrible virus on the road with us. And by the
Yeah.
time Dawn and I ended up in the studio, we had fully caught that virus. And we were sick. I mean, we were sick, and we had to go out and get some decongestant and cough medicine. And I know maybe some people do that to party, but we were doing it so we could make it through the songs. I mean, we could not breathe, and so we were swilling back on that cough medicine, and just having a good time with some of that purple drink. And I'm really I'm really kind of amazed myself that we were able to do those vocal tracks, in just a couple of days, and with very little homework being having to do that, bring some of them home and sing them here at the house. That was just a couple of small pieces, but all in all, within 5 days, we had the full album tracked from scratch to finish.
Amazing. Amazing. And so Steve and Nick then, so how did those 3 days go before? Was it fairly smooth, or it was like, you might get this reference, Nick, was it like Father Jack and Father Diggle smashing guitars?
It was
How did it go?
yeah, we'd kind of me and Marlon had sort of done scratch tracks for 6 or 7, I think. And Steve laid down his drums to the scratch tracks. And it went pretty well. Actually, like I said, there was I think my blue husband, we double paced it. Steve just brought the rock fury to that one when it was just doubled the pace, and it just all of a sudden just became this sort of steam engine that powered through. But it was pretty good. We were pretty focused. We were going out for dinner, and then we were coming back in the evening. They were long days actually, but the good thing was that there were 4 or 5 drum kits in the studio.
Yeah.
So Steve was like, "This is the setup that works for me." We got the setup in. It was like a 12, 14 mic mix for the drums. So it wasn't, like bass drum, toms, snare, overheads. There was a lot that went into that, and it was certainly some of the biggest sounding drums on any record that me and Marlon had worked on, and Steve was just really tight, and yeah, it was great. And then a few tracks we did live, so we got out all the guitars and did those live as well. But mostly the guitars were running through Marshalls, so I was taking pictures and Steve was taking videos, and we were sending that to Dave, and saying, like, he's got a few Marshalls himself. He loves that tone on his records. And I think there must be 12 Marshall heads at that studio, and then all of the other ones as well. So it was just, yeah, just a guitar frenzy with amplifiers and equipment, really. So yeah, it was huge amount of equipment available. And just talking about the studio, it's on an Olympic console, which is the console was from Olympic Studios in London. So it was one of the ones that was used in the sort of the 60s and 70s, and a load of really cool bands went through it. So it sounds really, really good. It gives it sort of like a slightly more vintage sound, which I think gives the record that extra warmth. So yeah, just the studio really lent itself, and obviously Dan sort of saying that was good, but you could probably do it a bit better. It's almost helping sort of shape the performance, just getting the best out of us, because he knows. And he could tell when we were happy and when we thought we could do better. So yeah, there was a really, really tight sort of 48 hours, of studio time over those 4 days. And then, then Steve had to go, and Dawn and Dandy came back from Paris, and then we were in to do the vocals. And it was intense, but it was really exhilarating, because you could feel the critical mass was building on the tracks, and they'd gone from being, when you record in a home studio or get down scratch tracks, they're pretty flat. But when you're in the studio and you've got all this equipment, the weight really starts to fill out the sound. So yeah, it was exciting, and by the end, everyone was absolutely, buzzing. Really, that wasn't just the cough medicine. It could have just been the cough medicine. Maybe it was the cough medicine, but mostly I think it was the music.
Psychedelic part coming in there.
Yeah.
So then, obviously, once you have the record done, and then you're getting ready to put it out, one thing always interests me is track listing. So how do you decide, or was that a fairly easy process to decide the order that you wanted it in as well?
I think so. I just think once all the songs were laid out, and I just took multiple listens through them, and it just seemed the most logical way for the story within it to run. The way the emotions and the feel of the songs, there was just kind of a pace that seemed to lock in with that running order that we have on the record. I imagine you could have done it in any number of combinations, but that just felt right.
Yeah, I think it worked out really, really well as well. So,
Mhm.
artwork is always something I'm very interested in, Lars, myself. So, let's talk about the artwork as well, because it's really lovely artwork as well, and it goes so well with the record. I don't know why. You look at it and that you're like that's right. So, where did the artwork come from?
Yeah. So during the days we were in studio, I took a whole bunch of pictures while we were there. And I know Marlon took some pictures as well. And we kind of pooled those together. And because we wanted to document, somewhat of the process and have that a little bit instilled in the artwork. And so, like, I believe it's the lyric sheet is one of Marlon's photos. And then the back of the album was taken in studio as well. And then for our portraits, I was really inspired by like these psychedelic 60s dual tone uh, half dot prints. And so that's where all of our portraits came into play. And I know Dandy doesn't so much hang his hat on the desert rock column anymore, but I know that there were certainly some stoner rock influences in the record, and so the cover is an image taken from the desert that I've been holding on to for quite a long time now. And I just thought that it would fit so well with the sounds that we were playing with. And of course, the Lorquin's Admiral, the moniker, if you want to explain the butterfly.
Yeah, sure, sure. I'll just jump in and say that I'm very, very lucky that my wife is a fantastic photographer and a fantastic artist. Almost everything we do, she creates the art for us, including our videos and things like that, because she's so super gifted in that area. As far as the Lorquin's Admiral itself, I mean the butterfly. When we first came together with the project, I immediately started looking for a moniker for the project. And I think over like 3 to 6 months, we were constantly just throwing names in the hat. And very early on, I was looking at a webpage of Lepidoptery, just looking at all kinds of different butterflies. And Lorquin's Admiral just popped out at me. And I was like, oh, that's very, very interesting name, and what a beautiful butterfly. So I just threw it in the hat. And every time I would throw more names in the hat, or Nick would contribute some names, or Don would contribute some names, Lorquin's Admiral just kept staying and just stayed. And eventually it was just like, you know what, this really kind of fits the mystique, the feel, the kind of psychedelia that's present on the record. And it's not overbearing. It's not like somebody with a skull in their hand, like smashing the skull and stabbing a knife in the eye socket or something. It was more uplifting and more pleasant, and just kind of fit what we were trying to do. And so Dawn and I, we from an insect, I don't know, what would you call it, a person that does taxidermy on an insect. I don't know what you would call it.
Taxidermy.
But sure. we ordered a Lorquin's Admiral, and we took a bunch of photos of that Lorquin's Admiral. If you could see closely enough, it's up on the shelf back there.
Oh yeah.
And Dawn ended up taking that photo of the Lorquin's Admiral, and
yeah. And so once we had stuck with that name, and as Dandy was saying, the butterfly is such an icon of psychedelia, I thought it would be so fitting to turn it into like this portal, this mandala of butterflies that kind of suck you into the record.
So there's the
Very cool.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
We call him Quinny.
Yeah, there's Quinny.
Well,
Do you know what's funny? Like, I've actually got a wee list of questions, and it's not a question I've ever asked anyone else before. I was going to say, if Lorquin's Admiral was an animal, what would it be? And well, there's that one answered. So that's
there you go.
Yeah,
easy.
One and done.
Very good. Then obviously you said about earlier, like, the sort of the buzz of the album. He's got a really, really good reception. Like, it's anything I've seen from it has been really, really positive, and not just the sort of normal sort of here's a great album, but like, as you said, it does seem to do a lot of things for a lot of different people, which is lovely. So I take it this isn't going to be or is this going to be a one and done project, or is there an idea for?
So hopeful that we'll get to do another one.
Yeah.
I really am. And I think there's also a sentiment that someday we would love to see how this transfers over to a live situation. I think one of the things that always occurs with projects that I'm involved with is that I rarely have people that live in a neighborhood that are playing music with me. They're like hundreds, if not thousands of miles away. And so I'm always creating these kind of logistical nightmares for being able to get out and play the music that I produce. And this is another situation where here we are on two different sides of the world. Steve and I are on opposite sides of the United States, and just getting together for rehearsal is like impossible. But again, I think everyone that is involved with Lorquin's Admiral has expressed an interest in doing this at some point. It is just a matter of figuring out how can we do that. As far as doing another record, obviously we know how to do that.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping that once some other projects are completed, Dawn and I and Steve Earle, we have a new Fizz Fuzz record that we recorded last year that we're in the process of mixing right now. I think once we get that finished, there's some stuff going on with Hermano that hopefully will also play into being able to bring together all the members of Lorquin's Admiral in the same place. Hopefully next year we'll see something happen.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to revel in the moment.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think
I know it's
as
always
I
what's next with with
yeah.
the bands, but I think I think this album has longevity.
Mm.
Even if it was a one and done, I think it's something that we could stand on its own. But
I think the record label would agree with you 100%
yeah,
on that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think,
So I think they would love for us to do another one. I think we would love to do another one. I think we just got to find the right open window and the right time. But as I was
Mhm.
saying, Matthew, as I get older and older, I just try to appreciate the moment. I try to appreciate being in the present and living in the present as much as I can. Not always just dreaming of tomorrow, but just trying to be here and now in my relationships and with what's going on. And I think that's so important to all the relationships with people I have around me.
Great, great. And what you mentioned Fizz Fuzz there as well. I'll be honest with you, I actually haven't listened to Fizz Fuzz before, but I will after this, after we're done here as well. So, what's the project with Fizz Fuzz then coming up as well? So you've done the album. Where are you at with that?
Say, oh, what's going on? I missed part of that. I'm sorry, but
Right.
if
So
you're asking about,
Fizz Fuzz, you
yeah,
said you got the album recorded last year, so it's
yeah,
ready to come out,
yes,
or
yeah, Steve, Don, and I, and our bass player Gabriella. Gabriella flew over from Geneva to track in Atlanta. We'd been working on songs for a new record for maybe the past year and a half or so.
Year and a half. Yeah.
And we've got a really great batch of new material. It's not like Lorquin's Admiral. It's not like Hermano, but
yeah,
I never, well, I always try to never write the same album twice, and I try to expand my musical experimentation and experience as much as I can. Because being pigeonholed into just one genre, it makes it so limiting for the things that you can express and the things that you can do. And so we came together in Atlanta. We tracked 11, 12 songs, something like that. I've lost track now, but they all sound terrific. And yeah, another whirlwind experience,
Yes.
and it's turning out really, really awesome. So we're hoping by the spring of next year to have that one released by our label Slush Fund Recordings out of Atlanta.
amazing. What about yourself, Nick? Any projects coming up for us to look forward to as well?
Oh, thanks, Matthew. Yeah, so we just finished. We played Desert Fest in London most recently. We were at the Underworld, and that was our first live performance in a while. So we're hoping to sort of get all of that back together, really. So that's exciting for us. And then
And us too.
yeah, yeah, definitely. We're sort of really pleased to get the sort of the live machine up and running again because it's been quite a long time. And so the next step for us will probably be the next SOAC record. But what happens then is myself and Marlon we go into sort of a dark room and we start writing riffs and start writing tracks and we'll be like now there'll be a place where the songs that don't feel or look like SOAC but sound like Lorquin's Admiral will be like, there's a place for these now.
Yeah.
So then that will be, and don't get me wrong, it sometimes, it used to be like that sometimes that track would be like, right, I'm gonna send that over to Karma to Burn. That sounds more like a Karma to Burn thing. Whereas now, obviously, Karma are no longer with us. Got Lorquin's Admiral has more than just sort of filled a hole. It's created a whole new expanse. In terms of, as I said, that sort of more melodic, approach. And Marlon and I aren't. you know, we're always sort of like moving from one space to another, but this is a space that we want to keep taking with us. So, you know, I'm really hopeful, you know, having done Desert Fest, I know that it's a very accommodating festival that, you know, I've got a very long standing ties with. You know, we opened the first one ever on the main stage, and we played with Yawning Suns. You know, we did the desert. We did a big long jam with Fatso Jetson
Yeah.
a couple of years ago. So that would be sort of like that is an amazing historic piece for us that we want to try and sort of triangulate both writing new music for SOAC, which we played most recently, but also from writing new music to try and generate new music that hopefully we can take forward and maybe sort of land a space for myself, Dawn, you know, Dandy and Steve to all sort of reconfigure ourselves in a setting. So we're very hopeful, but we're just going to see where it goes at the moment. And completely, you really focusing on the moment. I remember when the first Yawning Suns record came out, it felt like it was just a one and done thing, and then that just took on a whole new sub sort of culture really, and you know, definitely feel like this has kind of got a very, you know, like the capacity to do just as much and just more than that. So yeah, we're really excited. So at the moment we're going into sort of a writing zone again and getting the live machine back and going. So good times, and obviously not so far for you to come, Matthew, as well. If it's,
Oh, that's
you know,
it.
if it's, this is the great thing, isn't it? You know, hopefully you'd be able to make it over if anything was to happen.
Desert Fest London is. I was really hoping to go this year, and
Yeah,
a few things happened. Money got drained, wasn't able to go. So definitely within the next couple of years, it's on my list. I've
for
been to a
sure.
lot of different festivals, but that's the one I really want to.
That's it's fantastic. It's
Yeah,
absolutely fantastic. It's a gathering. It's really special. You'd think in London it would be like just too dispersed, but it just takes over all of Camden, which is just a really cool place anyway. And yeah, it's got a long history there, and really hope that, you know, Lorquin's Admiral can integrate into weave itself into the mystique of Desert Fest.
well, now if that's on the bill,
Well,
yeah, will not be.
maybe.
Okay, guys. Well, listen. We'll finish with a bit of a fun one. Just giving them a head already. I like to collect a lot of figures and merchandise. So, you know, obviously on the merch side of things, you know, we've got t-shirts, any, you know, records, patches. Is there anything, you know, that you would like to have as like a bit of a weird merchandise? You know, would you like to see yourselves as an action figure or as a Funko Pop? You know, is there anything, if you got to pick your one piece of merchandise you could create, what would it be?
Steve Earle, you have to have an answer for
Why
that.
don't we all dress up as butterflies when we play our first show? That?
Oh gosh, I don't know. What
Yeah,
do you
I
think?
think Dandy would probably make a good stress ball, the kind you squeeze and its eyes pop out.
Yeah.
I can
I
see
could go
that.
for
I
that.
can see that. That's weird.
I could definitely go for that. But yeah, we do have Bandcamp page up now for Lorquin's Admiral, and we will have T-shirts and all that stuff hanging out there for purchase. And you know, I guess we're gonna have to knock heads together and figure out what weird or unique merchandise product we can put together and have made to throw up on the site too.
Yeah, I bet we could make a killer ashtray.
We could make some great ashtrays for
Yeah,
sure.
or maybe a rolling tray.
Oh yeah,
There you go.
Yeah, with the butterfly on it, that would be pretty cool.
yeah.
I'll take a percentage for these ideas, by the way, guys.
Oh.
Very
Yeah,
nice,
yeah.
Matthew. You got your cut in.
Listen, guys, listen, thank you so much for joining me today. I really, really appreciate it. You know, I'll not take up the rest of your day. So lovely speaking to you. It's an amazing album, and you know, can't wait.
Same to you, Matthew.
all the
And,
new
hey,
content.
Ours. Thank you, Matthew.
we so appreciate Matthew you having us
Yeah.
on the show and helping us spread the word. I always like to say that folks that are doing exactly what you're doing right now are so crucial to how music gets out right now. Especially, and you know, it does seem like some venues are starting to make a rebound, and live music is starting to make a bit of a rebound. but folks that are doing what you do are just absolutely critical, and we can't thank you enough for having us on.
No problem.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Matthew. It was
Yeah.
a great honor to be a part of this. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So, like,
Yeah.
I'm just a wee sort of independent radio show in Belfast. You know, I'm just a big fan. You know, as well. So something like this, it's always a great thrill for me as well. So really, really appreciate you guys taking the time, and
Yeah, man.
enjoy your Sundays, and you know, I'm sure we'll speak again, hopefully.
Terrific, Matthew.
Thanks
you.
for having us, Matthew. Really appreciate it.
All
Take
right.
care.
Thanks so much.
Nick, great to see you, buddy.
See you soon. I'll see you soon.
I'm coming for you,
Coming
man.
back.
I'll be there. Please give Marlon a hug for me, too.
Will do. You look after yourself. Thanks,
Yes.
everyone.
All right.
Cheers.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye, Danny and Dawn. Love you guys.
Bye.